that individual, a week later, he passed away also. We had 2 fatalities from the fire themselves. We're up to 4 fatalities for the year of 2025. From the year of 2025 that we've had this year. So a couple good things to be able to talk about from the standpoint is that our Citizen Fire Academy is coming to an end. We are graduating now in a week. 14 individuals who had a 10-week program learning about the fire department. Again, look out for that. We always able to apply and attend our Citizen Fire Academy, which our next one will be next month. It's pool season, making sure that you have security around your pools, or there's always an adult supervision around your loved ones, your friends, or your neighborhood pools, and always making sure that from the standpoint of lifeguards, but also make sure they have the proper life safety devices. Wesley for their services and their skills that able to provide that baby. So and lastly, I would like to talk about fireworks. Everybody's hopefully everybody's aware of. If you're not aware of, I will be leaving these out front right there for you, and I'll be giving them to Brooke also, electronic copy also. But 4th of July is coming upon us. And basically, throughout this early of 2025, the state statute for fireworks has changed. They increased the number of firework days from 9 to 18. So the new statute is June 20th through July 7th. And they also allowed for permanent retailers, meaning that firework companies or individuals can purchase a building and sell fireworks all year round, which really restricts, there's no time frame of when of the year that we'll be able to shoot fireworks legally. 911 emergent line will be activated again this year, and they're going to be staffing that number from June 27th through July 6th. So we'll have all 9 days. They're adding additional days, 10 days, because the way 4th of July falls on the Friday. Then we have the 5th, which is allowed to be shooting, but we had some business last year. There's been some additional days afterward that people were still shooting, so we're going to try to partner up with our police department partners and be able to deal with those individuals that continue to shoot outside that window. And like I said, I'm going to leave this here for you. Would anybody have any questions for me? Question from the board? Question from the public? All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening. You want to leave? You want me to leave?
We did have some events over the weekend. Which is currently being by some of the news. At this time, we should be investigating, so I think we achieved detail, maybe we're convenient. Girls for recruits, we have 24 currently in the academy, and they'll be graduating about the next month. So, we teach some recruits as well, so we have some good options. Some new faces. We did have a live stream auto train in the area of Conlon Race recently. We had several officers come in, about in the middle of the night when they were early, to try to address those, and we stopped several people and made contacts with citizens that were, put the cars unlocked, took the garage doors open, try to educate them about them, not become victims. So, July 17th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're having second experience Thursday at Hyde Park. Left some flyers in the back there. I know you get word about it in the past, but the DMV would be very helpful. People have some license, so we can also. Some other things, we're cutting the fire just so people be aware, just sign up the golf course meetings if you guys and so on. And last but not least, if you have any questions, Oscar asked me to talk to you about a racing assignment.
In last month, we did a racer project. I think some of, if any of you guys saw or well on Wednesday, got a few arrests out of that and used our new ordinances that the city council created regarding inspecting and things like that. We believe it's actually helping us, curbing that. We're just gonna do some more projects like that here in the future. But it came out very well. The thing is, last week, I'm in the Delano area, had a few officers with me riding bicycles, so we out there, patrolling the area, so seeing what's going on.
I want to say thank you for the recent project. I know last district advisory board last month, we had some people that expressed concerns and they said there was an active investigation going on. And then like a week later, everything was in the news. And so I know Brooke passed it off to them and they were very appreciative. So thank you for running that special project and citing before too. Sorry.
I need more.
Yeah, I understand.
So again, we are planning on doing some more joint efforts. We did have KHP there assisting us with our first street racer program, but we are planning on doing some more, teamwork with KHP and Civic County, hopefully, and they'll assist us with future events that about doing.
Tomorrow, our channels well and channels regular interviewing my daughter. She's the operation and just in her hand. Driveway, and she's going over some programs that they're introducing there. To offer people an opportunity to get off the streets.
Oh, yeah, the priority.
And get on, right, they have an ambulance up there, they have 4 paramedics when they're racing and all this stuff.
In the past, I think we did some projects where we actually brought in some of our own vehicles and just tried to drag race people.
You're doing them this year.
Yep.
Any questions before?
I feel like to see more,
Yeah, so
when it's come sit on my patio and you can listen to it all.
yeah, there's a lot of areas around the city that they're hitting. Our first project, we're kind of focused in certain areas where they were basically congregating and spectating, essentially shutting down certain roadways. That's why we're focused on those
Those
areas.
100-mile-an-hour motorcycles running something like that, so.
Yeah. I'll pass it along to our traffic unit and see if they can do some exit scrolls during a certain time that you're seeing it, or still.
Usually between 6:30 and 9 o'clock.
I'll let our traffic unit know, so see if they have any big project coming up. I know they are up there a lot running LiDAR and radar, just all over Kellogg, whether it be east side or even west side. So I'll bring it up to them and see what future projects they have.
Anything for public?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago this morning at 6:10 in the morning, I observed a tall, slender man dressed in all black, black hoodie and black tie, making his way up Maple heading west and going in and out of the Scotch pine and cedar trees along the sound wall there. 2 days later, my neighbor called me, a friend of his was driving east on me, and saw what sounded like St. Lucie coming from the west within those trees along the stone mat. And then 2 days after that, I saw the same person coming west on me, again taking the same route through those trees. So I was just wondering, we got some officers who live out there, if it'd be possible to have somebody watching out for this stuff.
Yeah.
He seems a little suspicious. My neighbor got the call at 5:40 in the morning from a friend of his was driving down Maple, and there was this guy. We don't know what, we've been seen several times.
What was the cross street that you were at? The cross street that you were at? Maybe.
14,431.
Okay, we'll also go check that out. If you do see suspicious activity or characters, just call them out. Yeah, call them out in the one immediately, so we can dispatch patrol officers, so they can try to locate them. Address it.
Good enough.
Thank you. The question coming from public. I see that there's good. Thank you. Thank you all. A few months to you, if you guys the next. I'm CHC on the Mountain Branch Library Manager. Remodeling at Wichita Public Library branches continues with the Mountain Branch Library area. We should actually be open back to the public on these Saturday, Saturday. So we've renovated the teen area, public computing spaces with more study and meeting rooms, and installed a new service desk. The Rocco Branch Library, the 7th branch currently under construction, and that branch has been closed since March 2025. Construction is progressing well, the existing being followed in 2025. The summer reading program was off to a great start. The program began on May 22nd and will run until July 31st. Pre-readers, kids, teens, and even adults are encouraged to participate, spark love, reading to pleasure. Additionally, summer at the library is jam-packed with educational activities, creating, crafting, and exciting performances throughout Wichita. And for more information on what to expect, please visit wichitalibrary.org/summer reading. After story time, this Mondays at 10:30 over at the Machine Hall. Our meeting room will actually be open again until sometime in July. So we'll be able to move the story time back in. And that's pretty much everything I got. Any questions? Yes.
So we probably gonna meet here back in August or in August.
I would hesitate to say July 1, that July 1, it's not going to be, board. First comes from public. Never mind. Thank you. Sorry, thank you. And so we have public board of utilities, board of event, city engineer, budget topics.
Good evening, I'm Steve Dagenhart from the Assistant City Engineer with Public Works Engineering. Going to cover some projects currently under construction and also under design for District 4. So West Street from Perry to Pawnee, including Southwest Boulevard. I was hoping to say Pawnee was open, but I was getting some information as we were developing this. Yeah, as we were developing this report, trying to project where we would be by this meeting date. It turned out it's not open yet. The rain that's happened in the last couple of weeks has delayed that opening, so we're looking at another couple of weeks before being able to reopen that road. So work is ongoing on West Street and really gonna start to see some big changes in those two intersections and realigning the west, southwest boulevard and west and Pawnee intersections are gonna be instead of north-south orientation instead of east-west orientation there. So it's a lot more will be happening in that area this year into Q1 of next year. Work's still ongoing on West Street, between I-235 and 47th Street South. West Street's currently 1 lane northbound. This is actually 2 projects. The first one between 47th and MacArthur has obviously been underway. The next phase or next project that will seamless, we have the same contractor with both projects, but the next project from MacArthur to I-235 is scheduled to start in July, and we'll look at having a public meeting here later this month and are working on setting some dates to have that public meeting. So, but really overall, both projects together from start to finish, they're estimated to be completed in Q2 of next year. Work has started at the K42 and I-235 area. That's to provide some improvements to the ramps there at K42, but also constructed an entrance to the Brightwater Bay development as well. Work is ongoing in the 2025 pavement preservation program, pavement repairs, which we call phase 1. That work is underway on McLean and 31st Street. They're looking to have the overlay happen in the Q3 of this year, as well as some other preservative seal treatments and crack seals and such will all happen in Q3 and later. As far as projects under design right now coming up to construction sometime soon here, Douglas, Seneca, and Meridian right now is going through the right-of-way acquisition process. We're going to have that project out to bid later this fall. Construction will take place through all the rest of 25 and pretty much of 2026. The Prairie Sunset and Chisholm Trail right-of-way acquisition to go further west of Meridian, out to the Big Ditch. That work requiring the right-of-way through that area. And then Maple Street, I'm here to talk about tonight too, so I will save that for my presentation later. With that, that's really all the updates from Public Works.
I was looking forward to that funny update, so I'm good. Either breaking up from board. It's from public. We'll see you here. Which one will just stand for now? Maple's up, the first stamp are good stuff. Also public agenda, see that the scheduled items move on to off agenda items. So this time frame, that's present that they not request to speak prior to the meeting. Maybe these are time for stops to move on to study on the business. So we here. With any something like that. Seeing me out here from Maple Stinginess. Move on to new business, improvements to Maple Street from Maple to Street. That's exciting.
All right, Steve Dagenhart again, here to present the conceptual layout and configuration of the proposed improvements for Maple Street from 135th Street West to 167th Street. I've got a lot of information here to cover and we'll have time for questions, I believe, from the board and then public comment questions after that. So I would like to introduce with us Jay Engelmeyer is with MKC Consulting Engineers. They are the ones doing the core design work and such. You've probably seen some of the survey crews that were out and about last fall gathering much of the information they needed, as well as a lot of the traffic counts and such that were used in developing the concept here. So starting back February of last year, the city council approved design funding, including this project, and then later in July of 2024, the city council approved a design agreement with MKC to develop these design concepts. Again, the project is on Maple. This project splits districts 4 and 5. So District 5 is here in the same presentation as well tonight at their district advisory board meeting, but Project is just start at 135th Street and go west to 167th Street. The intersection of 135th Street is already approved. We don't expect to touch much of that intersection. And 51st will be a fairly new intersection, as will 7th Street, so. Just running through some existing conditions there, as mentioned, 135th Street's already improved, is signalized there. And moving west, it's pretty much all, just a rural section, 2-lane roadway with ditches, no sidewalk at all through the project, and pretty much that same configuration carries all the way out to 167th Street, and two more. So the current intersection there, 167, has left turn lanes, signal, with protected lefts. It certainly takes a long time, especially a few times of the day, I think, to get through that intersection, especially during school. So that will be completely reconstructed with this project. So looking at traffic counts and traffic volume. So MKC spent some of last fall taking these counts during the school year, right? Yes, sir. So during the school year, as you can see, ranges pretty much from 6,000 vehicles per day on the west end and increases to 9,500 vehicles per day at the east end at 135th Street. So the next step after taking those counts is you'll see the project here is in blue, it's highlighted in blue there. They take a look at the development, future land use, and do some projections on how much they anticipate traffic increasing over the lifespan of the roadway here. So they are, looking at a lot of area here that could develop into residential, quarter-acre size lots, and that sort of thing. So using numbers and other development trends and counts there, they develop then future traffic projection counts. And so looking at 20 plus year growth at 2%, something this is estimated 2046 traffic volume vehicles per day. We see it's about 11,400 on the west end, and again gradually increasing to 18,000 there on the east end at 135th, and taking all those other developments and some land uses into consideration. So that those traffic volumes, what you will see here is overall a concept that includes a 3-lane roadway, which a 3-lane roadway will handle those type of traffic volumes. So I'll cover a little bit more of that here in a minute. So starting at the west end on 167th Street, again, proposing to fully reconstruct that intersection. Will be all new concrete, include crosswalks, include dedicated turn lanes, include a new traffic signal as well to help make that operate efficiently than it does currently. So along with this project, in coordination, we are coordinating. Sedgwick County has a path project to construct a path along Maple from 183rd to 167th. So we're coordinating those activities here together to bring the two projects together. Primarily, Maple, the traffic volumes that we're projecting, Maple will be a 3-lane roadway, including a center 2-way left turn lanes and then a median, basically where feasible, where we can put a median. We don't have driveway accesses. We don't have any other neighborhood entrances and such. So as well as the 2-way left turn lane, what you'll see, especially on the far right, it'll repeat itself through each subdivision and each neighborhood street. And we'll add in the decel lane, right turn decel lanes for each of the developments along this and side streets along this area. So on the north side of the road, we're proposing the 10-foot shared use path, and on the south side would be the standard 6-foot sidewalk. Also, we're looking at 2 locations on the project to have mid-mile pedestrian crossings. It may not be, exactly in the middle of the mile, but we're final location to be determined yet, but we're identifying two areas, two locations in each section. Sorry, not each section, but one in each section, two total, between 167 and 151st. So this one, we're kind of identifying a pedestrian crossing there somewhere west of 162nd Street. The benefit about having the free option in the situation is with that median there, it provides a relief for pedestrians to cross, and only one lane of traffic to reach that relief in median, and then cross another lane to get completely across, rather than trying to attempt to cross 4 lanes, or even 5 lanes of a street. Just moving further east there, the Thai Edition entrance, again, I know it's kind of hard to see here, but it continues that 3-lane concept with the 2-way left turn lane in the middle, for all the residences there on the south side. And then at 151st Street, given the traffic counts that we have now and the traffic counts that are projected, we're proposing that that be a roundabout. So the traffic counts don't meet, there's certain requirements that have to be met to signalize an intersection, and right now it does not meet those requirements to signalize that intersection. And with projections that we're looking at, it won't meet those requirements. So, for some options, rebuilding the intersection and returning it to 2-way stoppages right now. Eventually what would happen is as traffic increases, per those counts that we showed, eventually what you would potentially end up with is a 4-way stop at that intersection. So we feel a roundabout, it's, their studies have shown how safe they are, reducing the number of collision points possible between vehicles coming from all directions. We feel this is a pretty safe option, safe for traffic. Pedestrians can still cross it well, having to only cross essentially 1 lane before being in a median at the roundabout, and then continuing on to cross the other single one. But proposing a roundabout at 151st Street, and then again resuming that 3-lane concept with the dedicated right turn lane and decel lanes coming coming into the neighborhoods. And then at the far east end of the project, again, a lot of the same that we've talked about so far, another pedestrian crossing right now. We're identifying that between Denver and City, and final location to change as we determine this. That 10-foot path that's on the north side is going to continue to the 135th Street intersection and turn north and connect to the 10-foot path that exists already on the west side of 135th. We're looking at, we have some options there, but the one we think is most economically feasible is, rather than rebuild a retaining wall, purchase additional property, evaluating the traffic counts and traffic volumes, and looking at what 135th Street does to the south, going past Dillon's and eventually Auburn Hills. We feel we can eliminate the dedicated right turn lane that's there now and utilize that extra space there to build that 10-foot white path, not have a grass area that is very steep adjacent to the roadway and anything. Feel like that's the most cost-effective way to get that 10-foot path around the corner connected to the north. Just another zoomed in version of it there. I'll highlight a few things here on this slide as well too. So one, you'll notice on the north side there, the 10-foot path shifts closer to the street. That is in an attempt to recognize, hey, there's a tree road there that we will, we don't have all the elevations set just yet. That's what the next step here is, to from concept development to move into further design and set elevation. But kind of right now recognizing that, hey, there's an opportunity to save the trees on that side and push the path and then subsequently in the streets. There are other trees we don't have the full impact on just yet. We'll return to a public meeting of some kind. I don't know if it'll be a DAB or maybe a neighborhood meeting kind of thing. But we'll return later to discuss what the impact trees will be on the project, what we feel will need to come out, what our plans, proposed plan will be to go back with trees on the project if possible, so. We are attempting, we'll have as part of NKC's team, they'll have a landscape architect on their team. City will have our city arborists and landscape experts review those trees and that plan and what is scheduled for removal, try to look at the improvements, see is there any way to try to continue to save trees. Shift alignments, move sidewalks, whatever we might be able to do to help save it, but ultimately a lot of that will be set by whatever the final street elevations, sidewalk elevations are determined as they get further into design, so. Don't know the full impact yet, but there'll be more on that to come likely. And so currently, city council has approved a $330,000 budget for this project. The adopted CIP includes another $2 million in 2026, basically to help get to final design as well as begin any right-of-way acquisitions that needed on the project. And then the bulk of the money then for remaining 14.7 million is in 27-28, which is basically for construction. So total project budget just a little over $17 million. Funded entirely by local sales, so no properties along the project will be directly assessed any cost of these improvements. So it's funded by local sales tax. As I mentioned, so next steps after this meeting here tonight, the concept will be presented to the city council at their July 1st meeting. In best case scenario, getting through all the property acquisitions, getting through any necessary utility relocations. Don't know if Kansas Gas, Evergy, AT&T, and others may have to move on this project, so that will take time to coordinate that. But if all of that falls in place, we would look to start construction in late 2027 and be complete in 2020. So staff would recommend approval of the design concept. I do have, I guess, looking for some questions and comments particular. So road closures, there are a few drainage structures that do have to cross Maple entirely. And so I don't know that we know the depth of those just yet, but what we've seen in the past and what works pretty efficiently, depending on the depth and trying to carry traffic safely in such a narrow 2-lane roadway, we'll typically close the roadway for a short duration, perhaps maybe 2 weeks at the most, in order to get those structures across the roadway, and then let two-way traffic in and out to that closure point, get pavement put back, and then reopen it. Since there's a few of them on this project, we're going to have to do that, at 3 different closures. Basically, is what we look at. Probably the biggest item here. So most typically every 2-lane roadway that we reconstruct and widen out, we've got to reduce traffic to 1 lane in one direction for the duration of the project. It's what's happened on West Street right now from 47th to 235. We typically we would shoot to have traffic flowing inbound to Woodstock. Everyone gets to work in the morning. Recognizing that school campuses are on the very west of the project, we're looking for some feedback on whether, hey, should that actually be one-way westbound to let parents and others get kids to school in the mornings, and then worry about pick up some other way they still have to get home another road. So that's kind of where what we would certainly appreciate some feedback on, and we could still work on this as we go through the design. There'll be some things, again, as I said, roadway elevations, new vertical roadway. We may find out we can do better with some things, but as it is right now, we would plan on 1-way traffic during construction and just trying to figure out which way would be perhaps the most ideal. So, but with that, I will open it up for questions.
Start off with the board, we want to talk to the board. Is it the first time this has been presented?
This is the first time it's been presented. Yeah, like I said, that's business by the same presentations. I saw there's any first.
If Evergy Kansas Gas, Southern, is there potential for this to start?
I would say we're probably still on that scale. I'm not whether they. It depends on how quickly they're able to, in case he's able to identify what utility office or would be the energy and most others. A lot of the utilities rely on the public right of way to run their utilities through, so it also depends on those properties do that first right of way. You know, Kansas Gas or HBC or those need that right of way, or blade, so that right of way is required, so sometimes that can prolong the time between now and starting construction.
Why are we limited to, 2 lanes? 131st West for many years, instead of been 4 lanes all the way from West Street. You know, a lot of those developments weren't there, never had traffic problems. It seems like it's a lot cheaper to build it when they did than it is today.
So I'll cover some things related to that. So, 4 lane versus 3 lane, it's a common question that's asked, and it doesn't make more sense to build 4 lanes because we just carry more traffic. And fact is, it will carry more traffic, right? There are only lanes that will carry more traffic. However, the percentage is pretty small from the 3 lanes to 4 lanes. Where the benefits of the 3 lane happen, and in particular, those 2-way left turn lanes. The reason it becomes safe. So, when you look at the number of collision points that are possible with a 4-lane roadway, and I've got a few ones to you're down. So the diagram on the left, again, it becomes a safety issue. When you look at the diagram on the left, there's no 4-lane roadway. There's 6 possible collision points. Whether that, you know, be turning in front, be stopping behind, getting more than just with the 3-lane roadway. It really eliminates that possibility of collisions. And the next one, even then, when you introduce side streets, you can see on the left just how many more collision points there are in the 4 lanes than there are 3. So that 2-way left turn lane provides a tremendous amount of safety value. That it's wise. I would say city is not built to build an even younger lane road. It's because of the benefit of that 2-way left turns. One of the other items going to yes, this line of sight. So in turning into a neighborhood there, you can see that vehicle in the inside lane blocks the view of seeing an oncoming lane car in that outside lane. So obviously T-bone collisions are the most traumatic type of collision there is. So by doing the 3-lane concept with that 2-way left turn lane, those vehicles can now see that single vehicle very clearly, eliminates or certainly reduces significantly that possibility and chance for that impact. The 2-way left turn lane also provides, if you're leaving the neighborhood, it can provide kind of relief areas for vehicle pulling out to basically stage there until perhaps that lane does clear up and allows them to merge. Whereas a 4-lane, you have to hope that, you know, both lanes are clear or right. What a driver sometimes do is they shoot across the inside lane and try to get to the outside lane, and that other driver may not know what they're, you know, what to do. So anyway, it makes it overall a safer roadway. And just in terms of some figures and actual numbers, I know you can't see all of it there, but basically crash reduction is about 30% on a 3-lane from a 4-lane roadway to a 3-lane roadway. You see about a third less of the vehicle collisions there. So some of the other diagrams are very similar to what I've already shown, but again, the overall capacity difference between a 3-lane and 4-lane is very small and not significant enough compared to the value and safety that you get with 3. So, and I mentioned with those pedestrian or 2 last items, as I mentioned, the pedestrian crossings, having that median there is a relief space for them to be able to cross 1 lane and wait, then cross 1 more lane instead of trying to cross 4 at one time. and then the traffic calming. So the example I'll use is McLean Boulevard from Central to 13th Street. There's some pretty high speed racing around those curves and whatnot. As a result of it being a 4-lane roadway and not very much traffic, you essentially had 2 lanes that you could, swerve, go speed, wanted to. So by building a 3-lane roadway, it naturally, especially with those medians there, it reduces the width and it naturally then slows traffic down. I'm not saying it slows everyone down, but by it naturally will slow traffic down there for me. Let's say, so hopefully that answered some of your question.
Yes, I have to say, I'm against this project. But that being said, for the budget problems that we have, $17 million for the first read was a little crazy, if you ask me. You also showed the fact that your traffic has doubled or you will double, and you essentially have the same, a 1-lane going in each direction, no turns. So if your traffic is going to double, you're not adding in lanes. I have a problem with that. Secondly, you brought up a standard sidewalk is 6 feet, and I've never seen a 6 feet sidewalk in this city. And I don't know why we need 6 feet, and certainly don't know why we need a 10-foot sidewalk on the other side of the street.
I'll address a couple things. The cost, the price tag. So this is reconstructing 2 miles worth, and typically we will see about, range of 5 to 6 million per lane. Obviously 2 miles, that should only be right, 10 to $12 million. There's a couple things that with the 2 intersections that increases the cost quite a bit. Signalization, this is another reason for that proposed roundabout on 51st. We to signalize an intersection, we're seeing prices at almost $750,000 anymore now to signalize an intersection. So that is one benefit to having the roundabout and that first is to save that obviously future cost. But with the 2 intersections, and there's some significant drainage structures, particularly on the east side of 151st, we expect probably there may be a need for retaining wall along there to minimize the impact of that low area and such. We've got some regulations we've got to work within in terms of how much dirt you can place in a low area and drainage really like that. So some of those trying to mitigate some of that is what causes the overall cost of the project to go up. So it is again 2 mile long project, which is a good chunk of why that is. So
Again, let's talk about that sidewalk. That 6-foot standard that I've never seen in my 10-foot. What's the cost of just a sidewalk alone?
So 6 foot is standard on our arterial, so I'm curious where you haven't seen that constructed, but I can say for at least the last probably 10 years I've been with the city, 6 foot's been pretty standard unless we've had some other constraints that we maybe have gotten. But we have figured out through time that 6 foot works really well, and have had a lot of feedback that 2 people passing each other, it works well, especially if one of them is on a bicycle and such. It's just a little bit more comfortable for people in avoiding a pedestrian bike, collision and that sense. So the 10-foot multi-use path is 10-foot multi-use paths have been part of our bicycle master plan since it was first developed in 2013. It's been updated. So Maple Street is a corridor that's identified as some sort of bicycle facility, if you will. So a multi-use path, given what's been constructed along.
I thought 6 foot was a multi-use. And now you're saying 10 foot.
No, 10 foot is the multi-use for cyclists, pedestrians. And while there are some bicyclists that are going to use 6 foot sidewalk, that was just why we went with 6 foot. In terms of the cost, I'd have to run through it. We typically are seeing costs. I'm going to say probably in the $3, and I'm going to be conservative with this, but anyway, $3 to $4 a square foot range, probably for just standard sidewalk. So the path is going to be a little bit more expensive because we do support thicker. Just recognizing that there are some private utilities that will use it as a driveway, use it as some poles or whatever it might be, whatever cabinet they may need to work on, trying to get out of traffic. So, and I would say on average, I'm gonna say $5 or $6 a square foot perhaps for the larger path.
So if we're talking about 4 million, 5 million for just the sidewalk alone, I'm just a guess.
Sure. Like that's gonna be about,
Steve,
yeah,
our estimate, we had about, it's under $200,000,
But for the whole sidewalks, for like 3 miles, or what over that 2 miles,
yes. What we have to give
$300,000,
$200,000.
you know, plus.
yeah, that's
I
right.
think we could probably put 4 up. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I have a question for you, Alan, or you're opposed to development of
And projects,
you're supposed to eat.
any of that kind of stuff, they need to go back to the drawing board, start all over.
Oh, you want it larger, smaller?
Not like, he aims each direction. I,
So you think 5 lanes, you're saying 5 lanes, which would increase the cost, but
the 2 lanes in each there, do away with the sidewalks. Do away with, there aren't any sidewalks there now.
That's about,
There.
if there's not even a shoulder block.
Yeah, we need to have a can for all these. There's golf carts out there all the time, and I know everybody argues about it. It's golf carts. I watch them every day, drive to Sonic. They all abide by the rules there, and just almost everybody in the neighborhood, north and south of Maple, have got golf carts now. And then you got scooters, power scooters, you got electric bicycles. You got all these vehicles we never had before, and that 10-foot multi-purpose sidewalk gives them a place to travel. They can pass, and people are walking, they can step aside, and that should be there.
We hear a lot from the public about, oh, you need to make which side more walker friendly, walkable, things like that. So and putting 2 sidewalks on each side of the street is the direction we've moved to. Since I've been in the city for 20+ years now, to make sure that we have sidewalks on both sides. The additional width on the path just comes as basically a result of bike plan and you utilize it.
How much does it cost per pedestrian? Or crossing?
For pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, how much is that?
So right now, I don't believe we haven't talked about whether we're gonna signalize anything or just have
That's still up in the air.
that's still up in the air. So it's possible, and again, what's the benefit, as I mentioned, of that 3-lane, only having to cross 1 lane. Is that you would reduce the cost of potentially having to have some sort of flashing sign out there, which, those are solar powered now. Which would reduce that cost, but the next upgrade from that would be the pop signal with the 3 lights and would flash and come on when it does bring and push the button, so. And the premium helps keep that cost or that pedestrian cost.
Feels like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but traditionally crosswalks are at intersections. And
Yes.
so just to keep the cost low, we want still continue that tradition.
Trying to keep crossings only at the intersections. That would be one option, but again, trying to serve a place where we think, hey, people would want to say access that multi-use path or get to the other side of the street, maybe. Students walking to Eisenhower campus, so there will be part of that county project. You guys go south. I'm sorry, I have to recognize Jessica Ryan sitting down here. It's not part of the presentation, but they're part of their project will take that path south to school. Yes, so we see a need here for more pedestrian accessibility in crossing Maple to get south. Or vice versa.
I normally don't ask questions during DAB, but I have 2 more. Will we be connecting the sidewalk all the way to Goddard or to Goddard Eisenhower? Because right now it ends at 161st Street and then it's not connected to the school, that would be a concern that I would have because there wouldn't be development along that street. So we continue to the school or using the safe routes to schools, money to connect it.
Well, we'll be connecting it through 167, so the
Now
county,
it's at 7, yeah.
yeah, so the county project plus the city's project will end up with a connection difference.
It will still continue to the school.
It'll.
Okay.
We will have quite a bit of conversation that we already developed this traffic plans and decided which way to go. Input from public parents, again, on the side of the school district will be in communication with them.
On my appointee, Dr. Henry, to the Ethics Advisory Board, is the superintendent of Goddard. And he lives in off, so I'm very close to that.
Move on to public comment questions. It's 5 minutes. You just please put your name for the record and the area you live in. And we're going to get started with public. Let's do questions first. Okay. We'll go ahead and start with questions first thing. So if anyone have questions. Certainly.
Yeah, real quick, my area is, I'm just. Very west. Some of us in that area are in sick. We say at least that we're in my area. But is this going to be a forced organization of properties adjacent and making the Ruby groups absent already sick, taking the own citizens?
So, no, properties themselves don't become annexed by the city, I don't believe, I'm pretty sure they remain, right? Yeah, the property won't be annexed, the road and the properties and separate, so, no, I would expect something.
Next question is, the sidewalk issue. Has there been any thought about, obviously, the 10-foot is very important. The north side of Maplesdale, I'm not worried about development, and equal size both sides, but the north side of really not developed, we have to say. Why don't we do 10 foot on the north side and skip the south side sidewalk? I mean, you're big cities
Outside altogether.
yeah, if you want to put a map, if you go to the south side, at least 567, some of these areas are homes. I mean, they're gonna be encroached enough with this annexation. There's trees, there's other amenities, I've got water well lines that are close to the road, but I look at the map. They're gonna get nailed, I mean, it just gets messy, so how much space we save on the south side if you do away with that sidewalk through there? And you got a nice generous 10-foot walkway now on the north side, why not just put that in and skip the south side? And it has that good looking up.
We do about 2 minutes.
So again, part of the concern we heard more about is right, making it more accessible, making it walkable, that type of thing. To come back in and do it later or something, I mean, it's not just one more. To come back and do it later than it would be with the project. Again, one of the items that we'll look at again within KC is any property that has to be acquired, is there a way we can say shift sidewalk and use that? Something perhaps stay away from some of those private improvements that right now are on private property that then would be need to be compensated for with a property acquisition. So
The reason I made that comment on it is so that you kind of set up there in Philly, there's a maple, if you look traveling west. And what's happening in development circular and you get to around 151st, a little further west. The boatload of people are going to be on the north side of those homes. That's where they're all packed in. On the south side, it is very much a rural, I mean, the concentration of homes is far less. That's the reason for the suggestions. My last is the question, the thought process is in your research there, I know we looked at traffic counts, but the bus traffic is what's phenomenal. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And when they let out or in the morning and the afternoon, and so, your counts are one thing, to see these buses navigate through what's there now. I don't know if you've really have factored that in to here, but when they're unloading, and quite frankly, just access Maple in the morning and certainly they have to at certain times, it's impossible. So it's not a complaint, it's just, I'm concerned that in the design of all this, you have peak concentrated period of traffic congestion. You have parents, you have young people driving cars, and you have buses all trying to get in and out of Eisenhower, split, go, either direction, whether it's towards Kellogg or towards Maple. So was any of that factored in that says you can handle sort of peak periods, especially for buses?
Jay, you wanna elaborate more on?
Those traffic counts that Steve presented during, we looked at morning peaks, which was, I don't remember the exact time, between like 7 and then the afternoon peak, which was generally the afternoon peak occurs like between 4:30 and 5:30, maybe 4 and 5:30. Realizing it's when school gets out, it may be earlier. But those counts, and not only did they, the folks who did the traffic counts count the individual vehicles, but they counted the types of vehicles. They did not say that, I mean, we understand we're near a school and there are buses. Now, are you saying the buses are making stops along Maple today and actually impacting traffic?
Yeah, they, right there, 162nd, and I'm with this. Cars slam
Well,
on
that's
the road,
something
people running in the
glad
back.
you brought that up, because the traffic study probably did not actually account for that, and it's something we may want to talk about. But as far as the actual traffic, those were obtained during the peak times when the traffic is going to be the highest, both in the morning and evening.
I don't wanna use any more of my time, but, or extend this, but that bus traffic and those stops are gonna be critical, because they're gonna be stopping in the right lanes. I don't know how they're gonna stop, but I'm just saying that traffic congestion is gonna be there regardless of how you do the road, and those buses stopping, dropping off kids, it's dangerous someday.
How many stops?
To that point,
Yeah. 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 I think it's basically on his back as far as that, by the way. Which is what happened now, I've seen at 162nd they up, and I have seen traffic back up almost all the way to 167.
Any questions, public? Sir.
Question. I have a problem with 6-foot sidewalk. And I don't have a problem with 10 foot on the other side. I basically own 167 Maple. I own the corner. I've got 14 acres there. And I've got a grown property that's on there. And by you widening the road and then adding a 6 foot, my renter is gonna be walking out onto the sidewalk. Do you have any way of being able to get relief on that, of being able to make it smaller or do something to adjust for the fact that, you know, I'm retired, that's my income. You know, you're starting to talk about messing with my income, and I ain't gonna be happy about that. So, you know, that's why I'm asking.
sure, as they get, again, if we can refine more of the concept and get in further design, we'll be able to look at, hey, is pulling the sidewalk, again, as I mentioned, pulling the sidewalk closer to the street, will that provide more space? Then we may not need the additional 30 foot, maybe we need just an additional 20 or 15 or something. And those are things that will work with getting consultant, and but again, city's property management staff, they approach it's gonna need to take into account all that stuff. And there'll be a negotiation process there.
Probably, I'm taking my name on this.
Yeah, just name and the area you're living in, bigger dimension, that 167 base.
16725 West Maple, Kevin Boyle, HOYLE. Then I have one more question. Why are we putting in a roundabout? I don't know about anybody else, but I hate roundabouts. I mean, you've got people going to home, to work, and now you're gonna slow the traffic down. And you're trying to get more traffic through while it's by widening the roads. Now we're gonna slow traffic down to go to the roundabout.
So
With buses, yeah, I had fun.
well, and the design will have to take into consideration the size of the vehicle going around, so just like, you know, how many, there's quite a few number of Kansas highways that include roundabouts and semis that either. So Ultimately, roundabouts, again, no different than 3-lane and 4-lane, it's just a number of conflicts, joints and collisions. Does slow that speed down, so that way, you know, a 10-15 mile an hour side swipe is a lot less damaging than potential 40 mile an hour plus, depending on the director. Steel condition. So, the roundabout in this situation again, the signal would not be warranted for decades going forward. So roundabout allows that opportunity to slow traffic down, move traffic through, and be able to move it through in a way that's also safer than even stop signs. So again, eliminating those T-bone collisions, eliminating sight distance. Obviously, traffic's moving slower. Some I've heard some others talking about trying to guess how fast the vehicle was coming through a roundabout or move a lot slow than it would be if it was just a stop controlled intersection.
I can understand that, I don't see the purpose. It sounds like they were spending $17 billion to make things go faster. Yet then we're gonna put a bottleneck in the middle of it to slow people down. It seems like the two ideas of having to. Maybe it's just me.
We're not trying to make anything go faster. I should say that it would remain 40 mile an hour on conditions.
Well, it's gonna be faster because, I'm sorry if I'm over my 5 minutes, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna third lane so that people can, which I would appreciate, believe me, because trying to dodge and clean and field and go into my driveway is sometimes a miracle. Because I'm having to deal with all the traffic that comes from the school. But, and then that third lane will be really fantastic. That's how people turn and so forth, but I don't know, it seems like to me you're making it flow faster, flow better. Yet we're slowing it down because of that. Sorry, I don't like it. As you can tell. So, thank you.
Then I think, the gentleman in the back has his hand up first.
Typically, once construction starts on a 2 mile stretch, do you tear up the whole 2 miles? Or is it gonna do a half at a time or a quarter at a time? Are we looking at a year and a half of a torn up 2 mile stretch? Or will it be done in segments?
It's, as we get further into that design, I would say it's probably, again, they'll probably focus in 1 month to start with. And then there's a good chance, if they can keep moving, they may keep going and whatnot. And what we have seen is as they say they move into the second mile on the first side of the roadways, they might be able to on the back side and the other mile start working on the other side and whatnot. So we've got great contractors in this area that figure out how to work phasing and find efficiencies to say the more efficient they are, then it works better for them. It's not gonna rule out that, until obviously the first roundabout would be built, that's probably under a full flow. And again, I mentioned those storm sewer structures at cross things. Once we get a lot further into that design, we'll start figuring out, hey, what kind of timeline we put back there, closures. Tell the contractor they got this window to get certain work done and whatnot. I would expect at some point, probably the full 2 miles will be torn up, but hopefully not all in the same stage construction. Pipe on one end, paving going down on the other. But because of the roadway widths, depending on elevations, it likely will be one lane, one direction for two.
And ma'am, who gave you?
Yeah, I can, most of that from that. Question, do you mind going back to the slide or at the traffic? Okay, so these are future traffic counts. Right now, you have 167, which is already signalized, but you're gonna have higher volumes of traffic. At 151st in the building, you might want to put out there. I just want to make sure that I'm reading this correct.
And it mirrors really current and in the future, both mirror the same thing. I mean, it's the same I don't want to say the same, similar growth across the whole corridor, essentially in terms of the increase
Yes,
in the volume.
you do, this slide does not show what future traffic projections are for 167 and the 151st. They're higher today on 167, and they're only gonna be that much more. 167 in the future, so when you look at traffic capacity, the intersection of 167th of Maple is going to have a total amount of traffic and a total amount of delay in the signals. Or that would be higher, and that's why the 151st, it makes sense roundabout. It's gonna take a long 51st to develop to where there is a lot more traffic there.
Yes.
And that, if you've seen the future.
There's only one other roundabout that I.
Yeah, I was gonna have a question. What is the only other roundabout? I finally am familiar with Delane.
Yeah, Delano, that's thinking about, know that for those who have gone up to,
Northeast, K96 and Greenwich area, that's about the area that has like roundabouts up there. And Riverside has a couple, obviously probably not same traffic against that we see here, but we have, and there are some examples later in the presentation, but we've looked at places in Omaha that have been, similar traffic volumes, state highways that have them. Even using the KC metro area, something that we've seen roundabouts used in these two different types of volumes to anywhere.
So it significantly impacts the right of way in my property, non-property specifically. Understanding that there's an compensation, understanding all of those things. So with future traffic patterns, I'm just wondering why this would be out here when we do a signal or something. It's really not making sense because it is a big like rural area, little gem out there that is like this area nodding, right? And look, all for the expansion, it's needed. There's a lot of traffic in here. Like there's a lot of impact in these rooms. That's why we're here. And you just want you guys to get it right. Right? Get one chance because once you put a roundabout in, you're not going to tear it out to put a signal in here. Because you put a roundabout. There is a KOA campground across there that has 40-foot trailers, like all of these, and toy haulers and fifth wheels, and going around the roundabout. It's just silly. It's silly. Just come out and just check it.
Sure,
Right.
we will. What I would say is the proposed lines that are shown there for that roundabout, those are actually lines that even if we were doing standard traditional intersection would be same amount of those distances.
That is correct.
So even if we
It's a
were
little
doing
bit more, it's a little bit more for the round, but not significant. But even if it's standard intersection, we're still proposed to take prop.
She wants to lease to property.
Right.
Right.
I
I'm here because I care.
thank you for talking to those.
I think you get the idea that the roundabout's not really off.
And the only part to add to your comment is but again, as Jay kind of said, and I may not have done a good job of that, the reason why the roundabout, when you mentioned future signal, future traffic counts, it's, like Jay said, it's the traffic volume on 151st Street. That really is not projected to increase enough that would fulfill the requirements for that signal, so it can be enough.
So when I look at that, it's 60 acres, 35 acres, 150 acres, 75 acres. I understand it may not be as large as over there. But the reason why people don't go on 151st North right now is because it's a dirt road. But when that becomes paved, that's a thoroughfare all the way up to 21st Street. So you get to Northwest Y, you have people going up to 21st and East. You people would cut through. While you may not see it today, you will see it tomorrow. And if that gets paved, it's all going. And if you put a roundabout in, you'll never change it.
It's a complication that 14th Street, probably like 151st Street, not a very.
That's why I'm sorry, I agree with her 100%, I don't see the reason for it. If you put in stop signs, if you're looking to slow people down, stop signs slow them down. You know, roundabout, as far as I'm concerned, is an accident waiting to happen. I don't care what the projection said. Looks like to me that the roundabout is just. Sooner or later. Build, if you're building for the future, why don't you build for the future? But in a life that. I was spending $17 another $100,000, you know, not on that. Just my saying.
Yeah, moving on, so we can get more people, thinking, sir, Matt, I think you're up, you're good questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you. Sally Blazer. Oh, yeah. And first of all, I am like. I am going to. I like to run up, these places are, the traffic from all the reasons you guys presented very well. Thank you for the very defense of. I was understanding, I think all of those facts that I'm going to feed now. Well, really well with that. And I can remember, I started people are losing potentially part of their property. You work, then things like tree, like I do people going about because it's good idea, and it could I get them things. I am concerned a little bit more about I'm also combining sidewalks. I think those are also because the people that are on the south side and the small on the south side, there's very valid reasons for doing sidewalks. And I'm not concerned how closely they're running out in the middle of the street. If they're now in a safety consideration, and so having done that, is especially kind of safety on the house. When you put those sidewalks close to the street like that, is there anything asking what like numbers on that? Second, when it's 3 feet closer to this. This safety or 80%. Bit of maybe in the street, is it? I don't know, I'm just asking the question, it doesn't feel safe.
Love it.
Guess we're trying to also increase the line item for service. So, you know, so for general, most of the we have is to make it seven. Seven is by those not separations. And I didn't probably. I'm sure that most of you picked up on. I didn't really say it very well, but obviously this would be an agreement to her, to include her along the street, so that must act as a just from the roadway such. And underground storm sewer improvements as well, which contributes to that. That's it.
Was it all good?
Yes.
Sir, can you be recognized?
The farther one, the southwest corner of my home, pretty close to me. Couple things, you're really roundabout in some areas. So it's not going to disagree with you. It does a bit of movement traffic, and the problem is sometimes we need a break in traffic. And break for that stop light or stop sign. Because if you're trying to turn out against traffic, not everywhere or insurance, doesn't matter how many lanes you have. If you're going across traffic, you can break and stop. And a roundabout does a good job keeping things moving, but you don't get the break. If you need when you're trying to cross traffic. A stoplight, a stop sign, but they do not breaks the traffic. We can get across the. The other thing, I am good still in. And I do the math, you said on that other slide that the traffic. Because it didn't take into consideration traffic in 167. But your math shows on the other one, you recognize the line in Mayfield, you have them stoplight at 167. And you need more turning lanes because of the number of cars. But yet that's still less than what we have at the 151st, and so it doesn't need a light. Why do you need more lanes at a light? It has less traffic and say this has no need for it.
And that most of the conditions that warrant going to say four-way stop or signals rely, it matters a lot on the traffic volume across the road, turning movements, so many turning movements in an hour, that kind of thing. So it does become obviously what contributes to the signal too. Traffic it's not shown here. I don't know what it would be if it's less than 11.4 or similar or what, but that's the primary reason is because what that cross street does is why what finally helps me a warrant for a signal or a two-way stop. And it's just not there with 151st Street, even with the higher volume on Maple, it's showing that there's a lot more through movement on the Maple 151st Street intersection than there is, turning at 167. I don't know if you recall. Numbers off the top of your head and all of that.
167 traffic currently and proposed was considerably more than what's on 150th, even the proposed condition after factoring in that the proposed residential development or the potential residential development. And we assume that all those developments would be full build out in the future year, which is a little conservative because it probably won't be.
Let's realize that the street right here was all the way full of natural items and transit. And we can't discount the traffic around the first because it's highly utilized just to get from Maple to Keller. And even though it turns to dirt, you have a lot of vehicles on that, and you see the head or the traffic on Maple. Those cars cannot turn out on the Maple. You're sitting here for a long time. And that's a problem there is, but the roundabout isn't going to help get it in and out of driveways and neighborhoods.
Like, maybe sometime. Questions? It's around that.
How do we go about working with you guys, whatever we have to do, to straighten out the sprinkler system in mind, wood. We've got an elaborate system in mind here. Know this is going to end up having to change the what you're doing. What do we need to do? Is that something that you're going to take care of? You just need input from us? Or the hands on or what?
As we get closer to the time frame, we've got our right of way utility coordinator to be reaching out. They basically have now identified who's got what in the existing right of way. Got staff that will reach out. What would really help is if we have HOA contacts. And I know these years can go by and there will be board, changeovers, whatnot, maybe with change work on, but if we can get contact information as we get closer to that, probably even a year ahead of construction times, I think we've realized that HOAs need time to budget any kind of, significant changes to the irrigation system. So we'll reach out to the HOAs and say, hey, we need to start this conversation. Here's how long. When we expect construction to start, this is what's going to happen. Typically, we'll obliterate right away pretty much from the parking line property. So we'll need to coordinate with whoever maintains your system about getting things capped off and to help keep everything on private property working.
That was the only one question is Jay could use.
Yeah.
Sir, can we get your name and address for the record, please? Pardon? Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah.
Don Wilhelm. 1401 with Sherry after.
Thank you. Is anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I'm at 14307 with Sherry Expo, and there's so also there's basically I'm here and I just kind of see what may be happening in essentially my backyard. And so I said, so that utility now, of course, I was kind of like, where is that going to be placed? If we have, 265 for them right now, I wasn't sure how many trees we lose, or is that all being thought out, and if we have. Would be closer to like, currently how the wood fence, privacy fence around there, is that gonna be safe, or is that gonna be something that will be used? Provide to, like, the state side outs, right on the street. Like, I assume, you know, my name of their goes by the spring on the 35th, and there's lots of that, side out the right to the street. And periodically, I mean, everybody sleeping eyes and everything. And so that will, like, you have to be kind of aware, like, you know, somebody who's not paying attention. Hopefully not hopping broken, but so I appreciate that we can go and be able to keep smaller trees in our ground, but at the same time, kind of worried about that being that building on the street, so. So that was something, so I guess my other part of that is I know that on my property line, we have on the one side easement. Like to the back of the property, and so I don't know what that might mean for like managing, if these have to get used. A lot of like trenching or what happens in those back parts, because my neighbors right next to me, they're lucky about it. So at least they're like, what,
Generally, and I think that particular area, that's one we've identified. Trying to save trees, minimize grading impact, but until an AC really gets into the design, sets elevations for high street sidewalk or whatnot, pull them back, potentially to that. The trees of that hardly just yet. I would not expect to come into the backyards within the utility easements. Those utility easements primarily serve the development, so, and all these improvements, even during the wide, it should pretty all the many in the,
Yes.
within the corridor of Maple.
Now, there is a chance that as utilities relocated within the public right of way, that they may have to extend their improvements to the private property portion.
it's that 18 fire. Sprinkler systems lines, but very.
Very more questions from the public. So. Well, Shermanwood, I actually don't live in that project area. I live at St. Paul and Maple here in the city. But I do understand the street will belong to the city, correct? When it's done. I happen to agree with a lot of people who said, don't put the roundabout in, signalize it. If you want to see a roundabout that deals with semis and school buses, go up to Florence, Kansas. They've got a huge one up there and there's nothing left of it. Actually, semis go over it. I spent a lot of years with Colorado CDOT, Department of Transportation. We never shut I-70 down. We built it from Kansas to Denver. We never shut it down. 2 lanes, yes, but it was never closed. We had to build shoe flies once in a while to get it across the creeks or whatever. But we did it. We included it in the projects. If you're expecting utility trucks or anything else to drive that 10-foot sidewalk, I got news for you. It's not going to stand up. I spent part of my career as a firefighter. We had a university that put those in 10-foot sidewalks. We said those won't hold up to the trucks. The very first one we got, we drove through every single sidewalk out there. And they learned their lesson. We also sunk 2 trucks into the ground. So making it for vehicle access, you're kidding yourself. They don't hold up. Not anymore than a sidewalk here in the city would hold up. And since the city's gonna own that, build it right from the get-go. Let's not have to go back and spend twice as much money to put signals in at 151st when we could have built it in there to start with. That's just my opinions. Sorry.
I see your point about path, and then, I think that sounds perhaps, we're not building it to accommodate them. But we do pour it thicker because we did find out the hard way, just as you described, that utility truck sees that wider path and they think, hey, that's pretty easy for me to drive it. So we have increased the thickness, which is seen, has helped and prevented a lot of that damage that we saw early on. So and we've educated a lot of utility sets stay off, so that's helped.
Anybody else? Public?
We'll move back to the board.
I do have a quick question for the public, because there was one question that you had that I didn't hear people get feedback on regarding traveling west or eastbound and what the best direction is for traffic of students. Is there any comments on that or? Okay, and you can make it brief, but that was just one question in particular again.
I agree, you have a way to flip it, and only for any one house, flip it the other way, because it would be. You're not gonna live, but you gotta live out there to see what happens. Yeah, I've seen it every single morning. Everybody's going, I would suggest going west with it. Then when they go to 167th, which is going to the school, then get down to Kellogg and go home that way. Trying to go the other direction, I think they're looking for massive troubles. They're going west, everybody comes through, they make left-hand turn, they go and drop off kids.
You can't work on it, west with school advising. Here's starting like bus drivers and get nothing.
I'll understand.
Yeah, I've seen some of these blinky bus drivers. They're in a fucking problem and you got one for your track.
Anybody else have an opinion or comment on that? The direction? Move back to the board as well.
Yeah, I've got a comment on the roundabout. One down in Wellington's been there probably about 10 years now. Then increased the traffic flow on Highway 81, go there. It works real smooth. There's another one down in Fredonia, I watched them put it in. And it works real nice, there's no stopping, everybody goes around, semis, the great big motorhomes. The things that work real fine and traffic does not have to stop, waste gas, restart, all that. And they've been used in York for over 50 years.
I have questions. So these are not the final plans, correct? These are just, you're just seeing approval for the current. It is subject to change in the future.
Yeah, sure, as we refine things, there could be some slight variations. But yeah, the overall concept, with a new intersection, at 167, 3-lane, pedestrian crossings, again, a lot of those details will, finalize locations or whatnot, but just kind of the general concept of it is what we're seeing.
So we should expect you to return in the future with other plans seeking new approval for other designs.
For other projects, yes, this one typically will return. It'll go to city council, right now I'm projecting July 1. And I've got some notes on some additional information. Sure. July 1st.
So there'll be two recommendations from tonight from DAB. So it'll be DAB 4's recommendation, DAB 5's recommendation.
Correct.
In case you, is there anything else from that? So I'll answer the question. If the questions come before. Is there a motion approved based on the design concept presented by staff?
I'll make that motion.
What'd you say?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a second?
Second.
And a second from Wally, all in favor? Okay. Then, John, you're a yes, right?
Say that, yeah, of course.
Okay. Before, all opposed? No, that's fine. Jet, 5-2 gate. All right. Good. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
So the next steps for everybody here too, this isn't the last opportunity to engage. Now that District 4 is voted, District 5 will vote tonight. And then those recommendations will be taken before City Council, and then City Council will hear it on July 1st. It's a public meeting, you're able to offer comment at the public meeting as well on July 1st before the council. And then that's the final determined body on the design concepts.
There's, I think that's been designs that have been advised and evolved to traffic. The less. You're right.
So if you have questions between now and July 1st, reach out to me, reach out to the rest of the city council as well. But if you have specific questions, I'll get you answers. if you sort of share your opinion, you can share it to the entire council. Vote on any of the board votes, which is everybody on this side. Jim's on the board, he just sets up here with us, which is great. But this is the board, and then John is online.
Move on to agenda item number 8, petition pay 1600 block South Eisenhower Court. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a lot more cases left. You're welcome to stay all evening with us. It'll probably last until 9, or you're welcome to quietly exit, and all my information's back there too.
The extension was, recent conversations or there's converted in the area, 37 the residents are probably being that resident there has a mailing for speech. We have some 6 in the area, signed by the last this. So we can set parish streets for September in this time of year. Sandwich bread is coming in, then I said airport and okay, I'm sorry, I'm not here, I haven't found where the map is, and I'm not hearing you this again. I don't know where Eisenhower Court is. I'm going to go back to there, but it's busy trying to do. Okay, so that's the first district and the process. Okay, got it. So here's here's the those and or is a bit overshadowed, but I just have very protected to show this. There's actually 5 the ditch.
So that's gonna be the next step.
Is that also?
So there's a runway from your city, there and that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's a picture of the aftermath of the event that flooded the south ditch of the petition proposes from the government, I was so much so some of the alleviate some of the experiences. And there's in the different districts, which you can also find, the green highlighted area is the area that has been signed for, and I've been. Again, 1 or 2 resident owners, so the 6 bedrooms over there. The estimated project cost is $285 to be assessed on a square foot basis. The ratings for each is like the 580,000, 467 to 73,018. The cost of this range is that one of the lots that was platted was split into 2. So as a complete lot is
to the other lots and we did push it. And here's the full cost estimate breakdown. Third one from the right, you can see the total assessments, and right next to it, the estimated annual payment. The annual payment is based on a 5% interest rate. For reference, the last city bond sale rate was 3.62%. That varies, and whatever city bond sale occurs after the project cost is finally completed, that will be the interest rate that will be the final annual payment. And its staff recommendation is to with the question. Is there any questions?
We covered how it is with the petition owners, one, two, but it's 76.2 dairy.
Yes. So the one owner who signed was also a resident one. So the petitioner, we represent 76.2% of it. And that would be roughly 76% of the cost. If you add them up and the total assessment does not equal 76, that is the difference in the driver assessment, which will be determined later, because the driveways are collaborated on with the property owners. So the company would want where they want to place it. So that was to be determined later, but estimated now.
Then the other property owner was paid for feedback.
I got in contact with them a few years ago. They're not necessarily in favor of the petition, but they don't see the want this break that better. I don't know. But they have an opportunity for public comment at the city council meeting, which could be the versus. I sent out letter informing them of this the Trenton City Council meeting and a letter to that they can send that to students. If they suggest.
First, from the board. Is after president, ready, search for feedback or anything for consideration?
No, I think it's pretty simple. It is the last little stuff needs to go here. And needs to be finished. We've got significant water issues right now where the floods. And that's where other vehicles start with the purpose of that. So it's very easy.
If you board this question for an applicant. So I listen on these as the owner. Aren't they in the middle on this?
Yes, this will be special assessed to the property.
Okay.
Should they sell it off, the special assessments will stay with the properties. Otherwise, it will be.
How long we expect giving on that?
For commercial areas, that is 15 years.
15 years.
Should it be a residential development, that will be 20 years.
What else from the board?
I'll say, I've been out to the location, good to see you, thankful that you're here, we talked about different areas that you could improve this, we were looking at a lot of different options, and this must have been the option that you landed on. But I happened to come out there days that, were relatively dry, and there were still a lot of flooding and drainage issues, and challenges to this property. I should not have worn nice shoes out there, and so there were more problems, but I'm thankful that you found a path forward and that it doesn't seem like there's opposition, so.
Recommended actions including petition if you wish to make a motion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like 6 and all in favor.
7.
Close it. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then moving on to zoning change 2025-002. Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil. I'm working with the planning department and the board of zoning cases for your considerations. So I'll speak, so. We're seeing it. The very first one is zone 2025-3. It is located at 3825 South Seneca. This is southwest corner of the interchange between Seneca and 9235. Property is currently zoned limited commercial and the applicant request general commercial in order to put it in view. A vehicle storage yard is as storing operable vehicles that sit for at least 72 hours. I'm gonna emphasize for operable vehicles, this is not a wrecking and salvage yard, those are considered inoperable vehicles, so operable vehicles could be cars, trucks, RVs, boats, trailers, things like that, so it's storing big toys outside. If you look at the zoning map that it's the this one. So anything in red is limited commercial, which is what the current property is. Anything pink is general commercial, which is other. You can see that general commercial is already established in the area. Particularly the properties to the south are unrestricted general commercials. The properties to the east of general commercial are in new union plan, there's no restrictions to it. But essentially what they're asking for is not a new type of use. If the property owner were to essentially own the property on the south side, apparently they could be right without. So that's something that we look at, and it is just something that's already established in the area. Because if it is, it's likely not going to have any detrimental effects because the intensity of use of allowing the commercial national costs because right. The only residential property we're looking at is to the west east of the area. The area kind of the brownish orange area. So that minimizes the view of it, and when it comes to vehicle storage yards, they're fairly low intensity in terms of the amount of use of the sea on a daily basis. The other thing that we look at though is this is an interchange between the interstate and the major arterial straight up takes traffic all the way down to Hayesville. So the intensity of the intersection by itself is already pretty intense. And so a higher intensity use here is generally where we want it, higher intensity. We have higher intensity uses near higher intensity intersections because that intensity already exists based on the nature of traffic flow anyway. You have warehouse self-storage, so storage is already kind of a theme in the area. Not to mention, if you guys are familiar, which I'm sure you are, go down 235 as it curves kind of to the south, we see camping work. So we're already seeing vehicles, those aren't necessarily owned yet, being stored there. So essentially the type of uses that are already established in the area. This goes to planning commission on June 12th, so we don't have any. And then, as far as I know, we have not heard any public comment from property owners, and with that, I can say if there are any questions. Question comes from the board. I mean, I remember there was previously a display lot for RVs or manufactured homes in the past. I'm taking up position between. Coming up from the board. Agent presence of comment, for question comments. Okay. Is there much to approve? On favor, aye. John, or I mean, all opposed? It's unanimous. Yeah, John to chime in, but like this.
Not opposed.
Opposed. Second, yeah, a second, so. New by the law. Yeah, sorry, yeah, no, moving on 20 to 22. This is 2025, I mean, two. This is the zone change request from City of Hammond zone, the intention to say that. And the location of the answer about not the varsity, we dealt with 401 south, and you can see this kind of map here, this is just south, and I'm in the corner of I was in West University, so that was a lot south of people. Properties is undeveloped, the area of need to do much of this country stand and not the as well was raised on the side or not. I'm going to two games of this essentially kind of the same developed contained the same anywhere we already know setbacks and the other times. It just allow the relation of mix added the duplex. So the comprehensive plan that they're excited for residential is to give performance with. It was zoning again. Anything you see in yellow is two-family residential. If you guys remember, I think about a month ago, Several lots down, there were the face stuff that I to the street and the river as well. This one just had been updated since we are on straight in and we have to do math so like that. So we're working on how those on the west side. A previous lot went from single family to two-family, give it the same block. In the city council, they have enough for that get with all of the soon. With the recognition for the building. At the time of the publication of the staff report, we don't have third anything. Public comment regarding the zone changes, but also goes to my attention on change 12. So we don't have any information laying about that same questions of that.
In this area, so if we are saying this kind of change that TF3, are we seeing enough to where we can almost blanket everything in TF3? Would that affect the SF5 at that point? What are the standards?
The only, so the development standards are exactly the same. It would be, for instance, we were allowed to have 2 dwellings on 1 lot versus 1 dwelling on 1 lot. The only way that we could do that would be if all the property owners came together, or if the city council or planning commission would initiate essentially the neighborhood plan, so it would initiate like a top down zoning which requires its own level of public comment period and stuff like that. And essentially then the city is doing what the people's properties slow down. It's a good question. There is a possibility of doing that, but it takes an action either by city council or the planning commission.
Is that happening in any recent dispute?
The only time that really happens is in combination with the neighborhood plan. So like the Delano plan, the South Central plan, Midtown historic plan. There's zoning regulations that come or zoning recommendations that and essentially notice those out and property owners have the opportunity to opt out of the zone change and essentially then the usually bring to if they take the time to opt out of the zone change. Anytime you're looking at the zoning map and there's nice neat lines with bars, swaths of land where are all the same contiguous zoning, that was likely a neighborhood plan called for a zone change, a blanket zone change, a certain that to meet the goals of that. A lot of times you see that more as a down zoning, especially in the mid-term plan, there was a lot of danceability. The less intensity uses or less intense multi-family uses to meet the goals of the mid-term plan, the domain plan is similar. When less than the intensity is what uses were allowed in the land back in the day to make it like move it forward to the type of pedestrian environment we want right now.
How much question the board?
How many buildings do they got one building? It would only allow 1 duplex. That would be 2 buildings for 1 building.
The agent advocate present for arguments. I mean, we're seeing the neighborhood change in this way, anyways, once the opposition, there's going to be a roof. All in favor, aye, John? Favor opposed? Please, next. Sorry.
He's still on here.
Yeah, not opposed. I'll chime in. I will chime in if I'm opposed.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for making it easy.
We know you will, John.
All right, moving on to zoning 2521.
Zone 2521, it was zone change from limited industrial to general. This property is within community unit and it is located essentially 47 Broadway. There's no proposed change to the community unit plan. That's an overlay essentially that has different restrictions or different allowances. Within this basis, I mean, moving into zoning map again, an interesting part about this one is there is a staff recommendation for denial. This went to planning commission on May 22nd, and they recommended approval of it unanimously with a 11-0 vote. Anything you see in purple on this map is limited industrial. There's property within the community unit plan, which essentially encompasses all of this. It's mostly limited commercial. The pink is general commercial. So we're looking at this lot here now, looking to go to general commercial. The reason we're looking for general commercial is they're intending to produce housing, multifamily housing
within the community plan. If you look at the aerial images, vacant, it was a Home Depot edition, and I don't think Home Depot ever came. Or if it did, somehow they worked on the building. Anyway. Limited industrial as a zoning district does not allow residential uses, and that's essentially to protect residential uses from what could be developed in limited industrial zoning. You don't want them to be allowed in the same zoning because then you would have conflict of uses. So the applicant is requesting a down zoning to general commercial. General commercial is the last. Commercial zoning district that would allow residential, and by going to general commercial, you're essentially staying essentially relatively compatible to what's the zoning that's existing within the community plans. Knowing you already have a spot that's general commercial, the rest of it's limited. You then have the ability to do residential development. Residential development would be allowed at 75.1 millimeters an acre. A little bit behind why staff recommended denial of this, again, the planning commission recommendation, which is the one that moves forward to city council, is given the area that it is, you have existing, well, this is an existing industrial use. The property to the west is undeveloped, but it's also zoned for industrial. So based on the proximity of land that either is currently under use of industrial or could be developed in the future as industrial. That's why the comprehensive plan, if you scroll just a little bit. And then is they say for new employment, so I scroll the other way. There we go. Anything in the dark brown is for new employment. Essentially promotes more commercial or higher intensity uses in the area. Stuff that you could be introducing some conflicting uses. Even the existing zoning that is on opposite sides of the street, already there. Obviously, the planning commission's up to the big, and again, the approval of the down zoning, commercial within unanimous 11 is your vote. We haven't heard any public comment on this, and I can stand for the question about any for the applicant. For Miller here, if you will have any comments.
Questions or comments from the board?
That's right there where the Pepsi plant is, correct?
It's just north of the Pepsi.
Yeah, it's just north of the Pepsi plant and behind the Dollar General.
So the yeah, this is Pepsi. This is the property we're talking about. Again, this is Red Garden. This property is undeveloped. It's unlimited industrial. You've got some commercial, just normal retail type commercial. I think this is a Goodwill or this is Goodwill. One or two, but just your regular, I think that's still in.
That's still,
Up in the corner. But our main focus was you have a fairly high intensity use here. This can be developed similarly. Instead of in residential uses there. The rest of the community unit plan doesn't allow it. Ironically, this site allows all uses within the zoning district, but the rest of the community unit plan doesn't. It's kind of strange. So if they go to general commercial on this, they can just do residential where. If they're to try to do residential and anywhere else in the community plan, they would have to take an action to change the uses within the community plan. Which would really be here to do that, so. That's why they're focusing on this parcel is that they change the zoning, all uses within the zoning district would be allowed, which would then make them do residential.
Are we seeing a need for residences in that area?
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question. I mean,
We're seeing a need for residences in all of us.
That's a great spot. That's, I mean. Cause I live there. And, I mean, businesses come and go. I mean, I think I've seen 4 businesses where the mango tree is right now. To keep it as something
I'd
business.
say you're probably more familiar than I am, just how undeveloped this site has been.
I mean, we've been Southsiders for almost 10 years now, and we haven't seen anything, even a random truck stay over there.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I guess I'm just wondering, like, why develop housing if there's no need?
And that's where I'm not an expert in. We have seen like a 21st whatever it's a university, we've seen commercial community plan. Kind of start changing over to residential building needs to be developed in there. Inside a university, but it's not necessarily the first time that something was essentially designed with commercial look to be changed over and maybe some more instead.
Applicant, like anything?
This property has been vacant forever, basically. Got a parking lot on it, but it doesn't serve it. So there's not a commercial demand or industrial demand for this property. City about. This was supposed to be a Home Depot right there. Never happened. It used to be a Leaguers there, I believe, many years ago. They tore it down and went nowhere after that. But you can see we've got residential just on the north side of 47th there. So it's not like we're a long ways away from residential. And that area up there also falls into the same plan, the south side plan for industrial or commercial growth. This property does, yeah, that plan right there. So some of that area up there, it's already developed single family, still falls in that area. That's kind of a guideline, but you know, this has been sitting empty for a long time. He's wanting to do. I mean, if somebody wanted to come buy it, I'm sure he'd sell it tomorrow, but he's wanting to do kind of a larger type duplex with like a big garage type thing. You know, it's a kind of a different concept, and you know, there's people that are looking for something like that. And you know, like your council member says, there's a housing shortage all over the place, so it would supply a few more housing units out there. And he's the one taking the risk on it. You know, if it develops industrial across the street or whatever. I think his development may have a little more of an industrial feel, commercial feel anyway, because it's gonna have to be in a commercial type area around it. So he's not gonna be putting in, you know, multi-million-dollar houses or anything like that, so it's gonna be pretty affordable. Be glad to answer any questions.
Is that where all the semi trailers are parked right from there? They're trying to get into the backside of the Pepsi place on Water Street?
I don't know.
Yeah, you've not been down there?
I have not been down looking at trucks and.
Yeah. Isn't that the street where any?
You know,
all
I'll
the
say
semi.
there's one spot on our side of the street that
Okay,
on Water. I don't know how anybody would ever access that place. And
you also have access off of 48th Street down. Plus you have access through the shopping center right up there. There'll be other access points other than just Water Street.
Is there any questions come for you?
They would come home from work and drive through the shopping center to get into their housing.
No, they can come up 48th Street, they can come down Water if they get through there. You know, I'll just take the word on the semis, but. I mean, those would be your main access points. But if for some reason one of those streets was blocked, you'd have a way you could go. Probably a middle class. It's not gonna be a section.
Do you have any comments, questions, from the board? Is there recommended, is there a motion to deny based upon the information made available to us today?
I have a motion.
A second.
No, hold on. You didn't hear my motion. I make a motion, we approve because it's a property owner. He has the right to do what he wants to do with his property. I don't see any issue with it. It's his property. Let him do what he wants. I make a motion, we approve.
Second, okay, just a second. Again, the motion is to approve, make the change and going against the recommended action. Okay. As we're going to take a vote on favor of approving and not denying. Aye.
Aye.
It looks like it's unanimous. Or Wally, did you vote yes?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Looks like it's unanimous, yes, to approve and not deny. Let's be in the class. This will be a consent item now.
It will be, so now it becomes consent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taking the cool. All right, sweet, moving on, PUD 25-07. Last
it did no change. But utilize for unique situations. For a standard classification and then for we create Southwest boys, but I do get development at 45th and just east of nobody. The area of use this has been utilizing Southwest boys for quite some time. There's several ball fields on there. Right now, if you go to page 8 of your staff report, development so there you go. What they want to do is they want to add an indoor batting game facility in an outfield and one of the ball fields. Everything else, the property is staying the same. The plan unit development is actually bringing into compliance with use on the site. Currently, the site is in multi-family, which allows for park and recreation. But it is owned or operated by a public entity. Private situation where I think these people have owned it for a number of years and then got stoned on that, and it's just not a developed over time. And it's going to be an issue. Needing to build a building also needs to not into life, which is everything. So instead of going to some type of commercial development or something like that, they went to the maybe development essentially it's just thought it was right. What's interesting about the site is the comprehensive plan actually identifies the site of the ability to collect open space parks. The current zoning, we want the families, some of the words that violate this on their voice, but actually redevelop it as development things. So by folks with planning development, the way of planning development is actually limiting the uses more than what it currently is now to only like indoor and outdoor recreation and golf fields. For indoor batting facilities stuff. This one planning commission in Thomas Munson and well, they prevailed about to zero legal consent, so they're being discussed it, that's the name of the funding. I will briefly go over the text of the planning development. It's following as a setting. The applicant will be reviewed with staff recommended language, which only modify just a couple of things. The PUD text gives this area a lot of license to continue to operate as it currently is. With that, I mean, there's a lot of just general parking areas that aren't really well defined. You know, it's grass, it's gravel, it's oak, it's dirt, because it's evolving. And by going to planning and development, they actually have the ability to say, essentially all but the new parking lots can stay as it is, because otherwise the zoning would require them to gravel, and that would be very expensive. And really, essentially, our point of view from the planning staff point of view was, this is operating near this neighborhood the way it is. There really be no reason to change just because they want to build a building. So we're okay with that. We added one caveat today that should be maintained conformance with the zoning code, and that essentially means keeping it free of debris, and we use it in that. But we're not requiring them to come into compliance regarding service of it and still say as the third route that on the kitchen of it. There are standard landscape requirements, standard signage requirements for the B multi-family districts of signs are not getting additional sign rights. From it, it does take into account any existing or planned school boards. Existing lighting on the ball fields can stay. The height of the lighting may not be firmly conformance to the company's orders with the zoning code. So those lights can stay in existence and can be repaired and replaced in the existing location. Any new lighting would have to be to the standard of the zoning code, which would be 15 feet high within 200 feet of residential uses. I'm pretty sure the ball field is taller than that. But again, this actually codifies it to say that they're okay to stay that way and be replaced and maintained in their current conditions. We're not requiring the community, we're not requiring them to have solid screening, except for the existing screening that's around the cell phone tower base. That's already there. This doesn't have solid screening right now. They're essentially not changing the function or the use on the site. And so again, it's kind of been this way forever, so we're not requiring them to put the fence all the way around. So we had overall, the applicant was in, agreement with the staff recommended language, the planning commission was in agreement and was been a public opposition. This essentially just brings the site into conformance. It can functionally be utilized as it is today and allows them to build a more valuable beach facility and just like that. So. Comes the board. You're on forever. And you're already saying that. Yeah, nothing else that.
We were Philip on this, appreciate Philip's all these. This. So we want to do this. And we're fine with these.
And the only step modification with the maintenance of the parking area, which is. So yeah, that's the sheet. So no, we have any kind of phone call, but we know.
So motion to approve based upon the following conditions listed. We have Judy, we have a motion, is there a second? No, it's second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Next.
Philip, I just want for the record that we're the easiest dab to deal with in Wichita.
Ruby, you guys are?
Oh, for sure.
You definitely on the power end.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll second that. We're gonna do this.
I don't think you've ever stayed here past 11. Not since I've been here.
Let's not speak that into existence while you're witnessing. It's 9, that's about it.
Right.
Moving on to board agenda, updates, issues, and reports from Mr. Council.
Only a few things. Next month, we're gonna, this will be our last month here. Next month, we're gonna go to Equity Bank Stadium, and we're gonna have Dab at the stadium, like a different location. So no, go to the stadium. Brooke will send you details of how to get in, and we'll try to make it very public how to enter and exit. Sometimes that can be hard. And then in August, hopefully we'll be back to the library, back at our normal place, but much more revamped. 4 quick things, because I know it's late. My challenge to all of you is host a neighborhood night out party. Brooke's gonna be sending a follow-up email to everybody as well about how to register one with the city of Wichita. It's a block party. If all of you host one, I won't be able to probably go to all of yours, because I think last year I had 8 people to go to. That was also evening meeting, so we didn't get out of council up until 8 p.m. But it would be great if all of you hosted one. And if you do, I'll ship out a box of donuts to your house for me. So. Common consumption, I got the language from city council today about common consumption. I have a meeting with legal, and we're hopefully gonna move forward on the common consumption district in Delano. There's one last zoning concern that we had of how do we zone and making sure that the parcel is close to Seneca Park. We might have to have a zoning amendment with how close it is to allow a common consumption area. So that might be the only change we have to do. But that should be coming for council hopefully by July 1st, be my goal. Council or the city manager, obviously, we're in the transition of a moving city manager. We received applications for the consulting process. So my appointee to that board is going to be Josh Shorter. Josh was here tonight. He was over in the corner. Josh used to serve on the district board advisory board. He ran for this seat like 11 years ago now. He is a small business owner. He serves the Chamber of Commerce. He's also in the Kansas Manufacturing Alliance. So he'll be my appointee to the board, and they'll convene. They'll be the ones that will choose the consultant, and then we'll be voting on this on Tuesday. And then likely they will also be the ones that will send the recommendations to the city council to move forward. They'll send us 3 recommendations that we will choose from. It's the objective. And then last thing, budget season is heating up. We are going to get the budget, usually good at the end of June. We'll have all of July to review it. We'll have we have 2 public hearings over the budget. Right now, the city's facing a $2 million deficit in 2026, so that's not what we have to address immediately. 2027, we're facing a little bit of a larger deficit, but 2026, we have 2 million that we're facing, and there are proposed cuts that the manager, we had to balance budget, it's required by state law. There's proposed cuts that the manager's looking at. There's no proposed mill levy increase. It's only proposed cuts to cut the 2 million. 0.9 of that is realization of things that we're already doing. So really, it's only about a $1.1 million cut to the budget. So 2027, we're gonna have much more difficult things to address. 2026, we're probably gonna be able to move forward or not see that mega service. Okay, anything, any questions, Paige?
These municipal IDs, what are they going to affect?
I need to look, they were waiting originally on the purchasing equipment for them. I have not got an update that they're up yet, and I know it's not operating. I'll figure out the exact date.
And then any update on the water treatment facility?
No.
Because obviously.
Let me see what the public. I do have.
We'd like to with a title for that.
I just want to make sure I don't like say anything that's gonna. Okay. So. It encountered mechanical failures of the clarifiers during testing. It was the first step. The city's directed the plant testing to be paused until a solution has been found. As our agreement operates now, the Wichita Water Partners is responsible for ensuring the facility is fully operational, and compliant with regulations before they turned over, so they're still in control of it. They're resolving the delays, delivery, the facility is not expected to result in additional cost to the city for repair, additional testing, and the city staff will continue to work alongside. That's the update I have. Yes, and they halted testing, so we weren't wasting more water testing. I'm still hopeful by this fall at some point as well. But yes, it is delayed.
Yes. John, that's how you got muted.
Sorry, say that again.
No, I think it's in the ad. I saw you were muted.
Nope, okay, Wally?
Yeah. First time. That a fair tax is being applied to these projects rather than property tax.
So almost all the road, I wouldn't say almost all of them. Many of our road projects are funded by sales tax. Not all of them, many of them are. And
Those are within the city, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm looking at, this is actually a good segue that I forgot to mention too. In our last workshop, the city manager presented what a sales tax would look like for the city of Wichita. We're one of two first-class cities in the state of Kansas that don't have a sales tax. It's us and Newton are the only two that don't. And so this is funded by the 0.5% of sales tax that we get from the county, right? So if we were to look at a sales tax of, let's say, a 1% sales tax for the city of Wichita, every year it would amount in about $115 million. Let's say that we did a 1% sales tax for the city. 30% of that comes from residents outside of our community that are using our services anyway. And it would allow us to decrease the mill levy if we implemented a sales tax. The average Wichita family would see about $127 increase in their sales tax, but we would couple that with a reduction in property tax.
Yeah.
And so I'm very interested in that. That's something I want to move forward on. If we did it, what the plan would be is you would decrease the mill by whatever level we have the sales tax, you decrease the mill. And then there would be an additional 30% offset that's from people outside of our community that can be used to cash fund a lot of our public safety projects, so new police stations, fire stations. It would set ourselves better up in terms of the ratings as well, to have more of our debt paid off with cash. So I'm very interested in that. If that happens, it has to go before a vote of the people. It probably won't happen by November, but I'm very open to supporting the sales tax if it is an equal reduction of the mill levy, and if any of the additional revenue get from outside the community cash funds projects. I think that sets us up better in the future.
Hey, Dalton.
1 second, John. Wally had one more comment.
Yep.
Because people on fixed income don't have money to spend, so they're not paying much sales tax. But when you raise their property tax, that's where the whole thing, so it's really not a fair. The way it works now, it's not fair. If you pay the tax, is something that's everybody's users. They all pay, believe it like you say. People come from all around the area to shop in here, all these towns for 50 miles away, people come in and shop in Wichita, and pay the sales tax. That's why I moved back to Wichita, because I was paying Wichita sales tax and get nothing for it.
I agree. So I think the consumption-based model is much more equitable. And I think it'll diversify our portfolio far better in terms of our revenue from property tax or sales tax. And we would reduce the burden that we're not taxing other ones. So, John?
If you do the sales tax, I've seen this done with other municipalities that have done this. Try and get them to put something in there that says the revenue that doesn't go to offset property can't be used for non-essential. It can't be used for more art, can't be used for more $600,000 shitters. That it's got to go towards core functions of government, because otherwise, all too often, these turn into slush funds. And then, oh, look, we got an extra $1 million lying around. Let's spend it instead of giving it back. It's just a thought.
Yeah, we have $90 million in public safety that we'd be able to cash fund, and the sales tax would be written in a way that it would cash fund those projects.
And that's between now and 27 or?
$90 million in the CIP projection.
Just the CIP, okay.
Yeah, but it would cash fund those projects and into sales tax.
But, okay, so what would it take to get that enacted besides just presenting?
It would go to the council, and the council would put it on the ballot, and then the public would vote.
Because obviously this is gonna affect more residents than property owners overall, because, residents don't pay property tax.
They do if the landlord passes, the landlord passes off it through the rent.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. As a landlord, my tenants are paying the tax value for the house too. I'm not paying that.
1%, how would that compare to the state reducing the food tax?
So right now, there's a challenge. The state doesn't, oddly, the state allowed themselves to eliminate the sales tax on food, but did not allow cities to exempt themselves from sales tax on food. And so I think there's universal opinion from the council that we would lobby the state to also exclude city sales tax on food. Right now, under state statute, we would have to still put it on food because the state doesn't allow us to exempt ourselves from it. I think there's will from the state that will allow us to exempt ourselves from it.
Well, we built interest for retail there for 50 years, 1% sales tax. Got enough money to build that, so generates a lot.
Yeah, $150 million a year is pretty substantial for 1%. You could see, a lot of change.
Just from knowledge, how much would that actually?
The millage, each mill is about $5 million, 5 to 6. 6 if you take out the exemptions. Each mill is about $6 million. Significant. And that's if you do full 1%, but that a portion of that would be used to cash fund maybe debt servicing projects. So you could look between maybe a reduction of 6 to 12. Gotcha. So. Okay, anything else? Thank you for serving. Thank you for being involved.
Go ahead and make a motion to adjourn for June.
Moved.
Molly's a second. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye. Good night, all.
Good night, Sean.
Aye, John.
For your record.
See your thing on there for the.